What up, what up, what up? It's your boy Dave B. It's your DaveBeyondTV, where we go beyond the everyday bullshit that people be consuming on a day-to-day basis. And today I'm breaking down the moon in Virgo, sun in Libra. Now, one thing you got to realize with this combination of energy, uh, we're going to be analyzing the way that we relate either within ourselves, right? Looking at ourselves and seeing how we go about relating, or the things that we have on our mind that we relate to. You're going to be criticizing these things, thinking, analyzing about these, or you're going to do it externally. So the people you are relating to, either in a relationship with, or that you're just, you're in a you're relating with at that moment, or the way you go about relating, you might be analyzing that. So either the person themselves that you're relating to, or the relationship itself, or how you go about relating with that thing. So a lot of people are going to be kind of taking a deeper dive and look into whether or not the relationships in their life are working. Um, People that you are relating to, they might have a lot to say about the way you go about relating to them. You kind of have you have to not take things too personal right now. Um, be open to criticism as far as being able to listen, because right now you might not want to listen based upon how the information is given to you. One thing about Libra, Virgo combinations, like say you got this on your big three, or just this energy whenever it's kind of in tandem, a lot of times y'all be right about stuff, but the way y'all go about it or the way y'all say it, it's like it still has that Libra energy of being relatable and like potentially harmonious, but sometimes it just people don't want to give you the satisfaction. Like you be right, but they might not want to say you right or accept that you right or express themselves like you right based upon just how you said it. It's like you still said it in a way that made them think a little too hard about what they was invested in, because it's still a dry energy. It's still cut and dry, and it's dry and cold. You know what I'm saying? That air aspect makes it cold. The earth makes it dry. So it still be like not, you know what I'm saying, especially if like people might, it might hit people wrong in a way that it's like, damn, okay, that was still pleasant. I can't argue with you and you right, but I don't want to give you the satisfaction of being right. So there might be different discussions going on in relationships or different things you're involved in that might either make you feel like that in reaction to it, or other people reacting to what you say in that kind of way, where the best course of action is just to keep it cool and not overdo it. Because again, if you're speaking out of your truth, like, you know what I'm saying, and when I say truth, I hate saying stuff like that because it feels too much like a buzzword, you know what I'm saying, like a spiritual buzzword. Not so, oh, I'm speaking in my truth, because nowadays you get people who use that kind of dialect or use those kind of words and phrasing to kind of justify bullshit. There's a lot of justification of bullshit going on right now that I'm not a fan of, but um, I'm not gonna say, yeah, it's more so you've taken the time to really understand yourself, and you know who you are, and when you know who you are, you have a better idea of what you're observing. You know what I'm saying? You know how if you know who you are, that's like the first step of that awareness. The subconscious awareness comes in when you're able to observe who you think you are, based upon the mentalities you in and the way you seeing things, your perspective. You able to still take another layer and look at that, and then decide from that space whether or not you in alignment, or you kind of creating conflict in areas that are your fault, basically projecting or things like that. If you're coming from a space of actually seeing yourself, knowing yourself, and doing things that are aligned to you, for instance, you're speaking up about what you see and how how where you want to go, where you want to take things. So you're speaking up for yourself, and you're being as clear and at the same time diplomatic as possible, right? Because that's the Libra energy. Libra is the leader of diplomacy. So it's like diplomacy, and being a diplomat is knowing how to deal with many different people. Or if you were talking about just as an individual within yourself, it's like knowing how to work alongside many different ideas. And a lot of times these ideas might conflict with each other, but if you have good diplomacy, you know how to balance these things in a way in which the maximum compromise could be made for the most people to get what they need out of the situation. It's like an art form. It's an art to diplomacy, to be a diplomat or have diplomatic energy is like an art of knowing how to deal with many different people, many different ideas, and balance these things out. That's not some easy shit. You know what I'm saying? That's something that it actually takes, it's a skill. So, that's one aspect of the energy in which you might be experiencing, or it's kind of like an aspect of the energy you need to figure out. You might have to display diplomacy when it comes to the different things on your mind. And we going through a time right now where there's a lot of things on everybody's mind. So knowing how to balance these things within yourself is kind of like, I would say that's the highest octave. Well, not the highest, but that's a high octave way to utilize this energy at the moment, is with the many different things going on in your life, taking the time to sit and figure out your relationship with all these different things. And when I say, figuring out your relationship, it's a form of this is the step that'll help you know how to prioritize different things going on in your life. So you might have a bunch of ideas, and a lot of these ideas might conflict with each other. There's pressures with actual physical world things going on, like time. You might have a certain time you need to do certain things, and you might be trying to balance out, like, decide what needs your energy and focus at the most point right now. I'm getting my words mixed up because I'm talking too fast. I got too many ideas going on. I need to slow down and balance it out. I'm playing out the energies right here. A lot of things on people's minds, and you kind of just need to take the time to balance out, prioritize what's important to focus on and what may need to come next, and, like, so on and so forth. um this is already complicated by yourself, but when you're engaging in relationship with other people, you also have to display a form of knowing how to do that. This is one of those times where it's really good to, like, utilize the day, because it's like Sunday when I'm recording this. So it's like, utilize the day to organize your space. And what I really mean, organize your mind. Um, meditation is good because you want to kind of strip away things. You kind of want to reset things at zero, clean it all out, so that now you can restructure it in a way that's more um restructure it in a way that's more productive for you. You know what I'm saying? That could work better for you, because getting too wrapped up in what, the anxiety and everything else, kind of like drawing your attention here, drawing your attention there. Again, this is where the kind of airheaded energy can come into place, where you just forget things. Like, one thing about this combination of energy, the better you know how to organize and keep things clean, the more strong your memory is, the more focused you're able to be, the more potent that air energy could be used. When air isn't, it's like kind of how when you realize, like, anytime you're working with air works the best, or it's the most efficient, when it can be contained and directed. When you, like, for instance, if you're trying to fill up a tire and you're not having a direct airflow into that tire, you're never going to blow that tire up. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of that same effect. It's like, if you want to utilize the air in the best way possible, you have to create a direct airflow. You have to create a wind tunnel. You have to create a direction for that air, or a container for that air, for it to be utilized in a specific way. Because if you're not trying to contain that air, the air is going to be all over the place. And so this will result into a life experience where, instead of having instead of using your practicality to have a direction of where you want your mind to go, or a container for your mind gonna go everywhere. So you're gonna be trying to relate to things that you really have no business relating to, just because it'll be straight off the strength of Venus trying to have pleasure, or trying to enjoy something, or just because something is shiny and looks good, or looks like it could be beneficial. Um, right now is a very dangerous time to be distracted. The sun is trining Jupiter. So again, Jupiter is in a space where it's in Gemini. It's not even where it's really supposed to be at. So a lot of the things that Gemini is gonna think is natural and feels good, to be curious and want to get a lot of information on something, maybe even gossip, the things that it feels like it's good to do, it might not be doing it in the best way. So you might expand on a bunch of information about a topic that really does no good for you in your life, aka people on social media overindulging, expanding their awareness and getting information about content creators and the drama that they're involved in. Venus is also in Scorpio too, which is an aspect that will add a certain kind of I'm gonna say a sadistic it's like a sadistic enjoyment from the wrong things. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying this energy for everybody, or like if you got this alignment, this is you. But what I mean is, if you, it's kind of that saying where it's like, if you don't stand on something, you fall for anything. It's kind of like that energy where you, based upon you being bored and too much time in your hands, what the idle mind is like the devil's playground or something like that, where by not having no direction, or just you just out here, you will get yourself into something that you're doing solely for the purpose of gaining some kind of pleasure or validation or gratification from. And that gratification will turn into, or has the potential to turn into, an obsession, to the point where it can turn from that obsession, turn into an addiction that plays out as something that ends up coming back to destroy you based upon how much of your time you're spending on it. And right now, we do not have time to waste. And what I mean by that is, in your own life, there's things going on that require your focus and attention. And if you're not, it's like, and when I say that, I'm talking on a spiritual level. Remember, it's election season, and it's open season too for new ideas to be produced. Like, keep in mind, this year 8 is setting us up for a year 9. Year 9 is the breakout year, basically. 2025 is that breakout year where it's almost like inevitable for things to kind of just, you either got your shit together and you're off, you're taking off, and that takeoff is going to take you away from having to kind of do whatever the new consensus of this new age is going to be. Think of it like a rocket ship literally taking off and separating from the land, which represents the system that we in, that at the current moment is a free-for-all, and they're trying to figure out what to do. But when they figure out what to do, guess what comes with that? New rules, new restrictions, certain things that we had access to do that we could have accumulated a lot of energy from in a beneficial way. We those things are now locked in. It's now no longer just a free for all and easy to get in and get out. It's now you have to commit to it. The equivalent to this is like, at one time, let's say there was a hack that you could do that would get you a whole lot of money, but now the hack no longer works. Now you got to sign into a system that completely prevents the hack. So you could just sign into this one thing and get a bunch of money from just, it's like YouTube. You know what I'm saying? At one point, when YouTube started paying people and it was open, you could be a fresh new content creator. Your channel could go up, a lot of organic views. You can get paid a good chunk of money. You can make a living off of this. Well, guess what? In 2024, we done figured out the game. Now you got to go through a whole process to even be valid enough to get some kind of benefit from YouTube participation. And then on top of that, they're paying you chump change. And all the organic reach that once was available is no longer, is now, no, you got to actually buy ads too. And not only do you got to buy ads, you damn near need to partner up with somebody behind the scenes in a way that pushes and promotes you. And if you not linked in with certain politicians and the ad money that we getting from these different people, then guess what? Your channel will grow very, very slowly, to the point where you'll probably get discouraged and not want to make another video a day in your life. That's the game. Now, that, think of that in terms of how the internet works and what we see. Even though right now it feels like a recession, and they're trying to get everybody in a recession type mind where people kind of become discouraged and become lazy. The reason they try to feed you that type of information is so you become lazy. And I don't really even think it's their intention to make you become lazy. I think the average individual is lazy, and based upon them not getting it, it's almost like, you got to think about it. The shadow government does things that force you to be in the spaces that they was in order to come up with something that works like this. And I'm not saying that's right or that's wrong. What I'm saying is, it's the thing where people gatekeep, or like, when, let's say, it's kind of like, you gotta think of how Saturn move, right? Let's say you got an OG, and that OG got a lot of money, but the OG not just gonna give you money or put you on. The OG said, I want to see if you really want it. So the OG is gonna make it difficult for you, aka put you through trials and tribulations that force you to develop a mind state that's strong enough to even be in a position that you really want to be in. So they're gonna put you in situations that make it a little difficult, not gonna give you no silver spoon, make you actually test and prove to see if you even deserve a little bit of game or a little bit of this. That's the kind of that's a lot of times why it feels the way it do in society in the way it is, where it's like they want us to stay broke, and it's like, no, the thing is, all the information you need to be rich is available to you, but the question is, are you gonna find it and actually carry out the inner energy and make it work, or are you gonna fall to the distractions that we have here for you, that's almost like a protection system against people who don't deserve the position. Now, like I said, I'm not debating on whether that's a good way to go about things or not, but a lot of times that's how they think, because in their position, it's like, hey, we had to work for this, we had to do certain things. So if you're not even willing to do a little bit of what we had to do, then you wouldn't even know what to do with the position or the money we got if you got it. So you gotta it's in to be able to understand that takes a level of maturity, because the first reaction is like, well, fuck that. You might want to do it your way, you might want to rebel and be like, that's cruel and no. But the thing is, that's the reality of that's the reality of it. Sometimes, like, people don't be wanting to put in the work. People expect a lot of things to just happen and fall out the sky. And the thing about it is, and for some people it seems like that happens, but it's a lot of times, so it's very rare that it happens and it's successful afterwards. People who have things who fall into, things fall in their lap. Yeah, they might have got lucky with something. They might have hit some kind of jackpot, but it takes another layer of just knowing what to do with that will ensure that you are actually secure with that. Some people win certain things or have certain things fall in their lap just for them to learn how to, just for them to learn a lesson after they lose it all. You know what I'm saying? It's like weird. You never know what somebody's timeline or story is about. So even though on the outside looking in, it's easy to see somebody who might have went viral and ended up becoming internet famous real early and somewhat successful, but you don't know what their life is about, because there could be another aspect to it that they got to deal with that you have no clue about. That's why the internet stuff is dangerous, because it got everybody so invested into things that really don't apply to you. It's just more shit to get you out of your own life, out of your own mind. You know what I'm saying? It's a bunch of things to just get you invested into somebody else's business, and again, giving your energy away. That's all this stuff really be. How much can we divide their attention to distract it from investing into their own life and their own self? It's people who want to do things in the world, be artists and stuff like that, and they spend way too much time on the phone instead of sitting with themselves and their craft and just living life, practicing. You know what I'm saying? And when I say living life, I mean part of living life is the craft. Like, life itself is a art. It's an art to live in. I don't want to get too much into that. I'm gonna bring it back, right? Bring it back. Moon and Virgo. Moon and Virgo. So, but this is the type of things you might want to consider, how you relate to yourself, because there might be certain thoughts and ways you think about the world and think about life and go about life that you realize it's the relationship you have with that idea or that thought or that goal might not be one that's good, beneficial for you or the goal itself. For example, right? You might have a dream of yours, but the way you're relating to that dream, it's not gonna happen. you're not doing enough, you're not focused enough, you're not paying attention to the right things, you're wasting your time. You might have to change something about that relationship to make it work better. And that's what the moon in Virgo is kind of making us react to. And how we got to go about reacting that is by initiating a new way to think and communicate with that thing. So even internally, if you're trying to think, if you're using Libra energy about a goal you got, right? So inside, you have to initiate a new way to think about that goal. You say, you know what? I'm thinking about this shit wrong. I'm not balancing things in my life. I'm not prioritizing the right things. I'm not, um, instead of having harmony with the things that I want by creating the space to make them possible, to practice them and keep them consistently going, I'm creating resistance by not taking the initiative and cleaning my room and setting up my studio space and doing, it's like it'll take you down ideas and thoughts and forms like that. And once you're in that space, then it's like, okay, now I have a new way to think about it. I have to initiate this. So my new relationship with my goals is that I actually can achieve them, and I will make what I can possible in my life balance out in a way to make it possible. You know what I'm saying? I'm adding things in, but you're supposed to kind of ad lib and put your own words and sauce into that to refrain for what you're trying to do. But after you initiate a new way to think about that you can relate it with, now you like, at first you was having a way of relating to it where you thought it was just a plan B. You was like, yeah, I'll kind of do that later. But now you're like, oh no, I gotta initiate a new way to think about it. So now I'm gonna think about it like it's my plan A. So my relationship with my goals has now changed. It's now more about making this thing work versus uh doing it on the side as a hobby. Now I've initiated a new way to think. Now I have to communicate with it a new way. So that new way of communicating, if you're thinking about something within you, the communication is you developing different thoughts about it that are going to take you to new places. The equivalent to in real life, you meet friends by sparking up a conversation and allowing that to take it where it needs to take you. So you could be talking to yourself in a new way about this idea, this goal. And you're like, instead of the usual thoughts that you had of it not being possible, it probably should be more of a hobby. Nobody else thinks I'm capable of this. Your new way of communicating is like having a new friend. You know what? Hey man, I think I actually can do this. You know, the way what if I tried this? I could try this and maybe this will be successful. And if it doesn't, maybe I can learn from that and we can make this work. And it's like a different, you see how harmony is being made. You see how now, based upon how I'm thinking, because see, one thing about uh compromise, consideration, and when we look at Libra energy, that's that whole seventh house thing. Because I can consider someone outside of myself, I can initiate new things, manipulate new things in a way that it's like by through the means of consideration, I know how to make something more harmonious. I know what to initiate based upon what I can consider from somebody else's space. If y'all get what I'm saying, like it's kind of complicated because these be spaces that really don't have, these are energy pockets I'm talking about and stuff like that. But it's like that's how a Libra mind works. Why they seem harmonious is they're considerate. So that consideration is basically inspiration for them to initiate maybe a new way to talking to you, communicating with you, or a new way to think about something that leaves room and space for them to, play the romance role or do what you like in a way that's like, oh wow, this person is considerate of me. Because like when you think of somebody being considerate of you, what is consideration? Consideration is somebody taking the time to think about what you would like and consider, take your perspective into it's basically them attempting to be aware of what you be aware of in your perspective. So it's like, oh, this person took the time to balance something out or jump outside of them and set a certain situation up to be enjoyed by both of us mutually. That's like, you know, I don't want to over explain it, but that's essentially what's going on. So, this is you being considerate of your ideas and more, this is how you balance yourself out basically. And right now, that can be a beneficial practice because it helps you before you engage with other people. Because see, when you do this for yourself, this is you developing a clearer vision for yourself and a more confidence in how you want to go about things for you. It makes your life more organized. And when you're more organized and more put together, you're able to interact with others in a different light versus people who are very, they're going through their own turmoil and they haven't quite figured it out. That makes a person maybe a little standoffish or maybe inconsiderate, basically based upon them still haven't created balance within themselves. So how are they going to have the space to consider anything you saying or be able to look at life from your perspective? And they mind, it's like, man, to hell with your perspective. I still got to get my own shit together. And that's kind of like the more, that's when you get those kind of interactions where you realize, oh, how they're acting is less to do with me. I'm not bothering them. They're already bothered. You know what I'm saying? I'm not annoying them. They're already annoyed based upon what they might not have together in their life. And sometimes people project this onto you and it creates conflict when it didn't even need to be conflict. But that's one of those big things about life and how we interact with people is like how they say, you never really know what's going on in somebody else's mind. Uh, you know, or you never really know what somebody going through because that be the very start of a lot of issues. And see, you might walk away and let's say you don't got the awareness to be like, oh, because sometimes it don't matter if somebody treating you a certain way. You don't have to be philosophical about it and be like, oh, well, they're probably going through something. But it helps you from perpetuating negativity in the world. You know what I'm saying? It helps you from going and hurting somebody just because you took something personal and got your feelings hurt. You know what I'm saying? We can't really, again, that's why you shouldn't take things personal because of the fact that everybody got their own shit that they going through and it probably ain't got nothing to do with you. It's just how it be. You know what I'm saying? You again in the world, you sometimes you wish people would be more considerate, people would care about what they say and think about you sometimes, think about others. Yeah, but sometimes it just is what it is, bro. Everybody's stressed. So, you can cry and complain about that, or you can choose to be the example of what that can look like. Because when you show people grace at times in which, they kind of show their ass or don't present themselves in the best way, in the best light, based upon how you handle that, their respect for you grows and develops. Now, that's why if you respect a person, you can give them that grace and you'll get respect back if you value who they are and you value them in that aspect. See, this is how you prevent yourself from, well, I'm not going to say prevent yourself from getting the short end of the stick, but like this be the thing. This is why it seemed like Libras might be passive. And this is where, if you are a passive Libra, this is how you can kind of do a test to see whether or not you kind of doing the right thing by being passive or harmonious or relatable in that instance versus overdoing it for the wrong people, right? The test is this. If you're dealing with somebody that you value and that shows you respect at times in which they might fall short, you can give them grace. Now, you don't have to overdo it. And again, you might wake up that day and not feel like they deserve grace that day. Whatever, the little personal thing be, that's up to you. You got to have your own discernment because I don't know the people in your life. But a good rule of thumb, ask yourself if you value them, do they value you, and do they show you respect at other times? Like, can you think back to a time in which they were showing you respect, maybe when they was in a different mentality? And if you look at those and you say, okay, yeah, I do value them, I respect them, and I know that they respect and value me. They might be going through something today. I'm going to give them grace. When you do that, a lot of times when they come back to their senses, because if this is a person who you respect and value, if you can look back and say, well, the terms that we usually relate on are different, then when they do finally come back to their senses and things calm down, chances are they'll respect you a lot more for giving them that grace. Now, sometimes people are narcissistic in the sense of, and not because they mean to be, just because, again, people be in their own worlds. So they might have expected you to be overly graceful in the sense of like ask them what's wrong and try to be helpful and try. Sometimes that happens, and in some cases it's you got to be because like sometimes that'll happen in an actual relationship or a marriage or something like that, right? Where it's different. That type of relationship requires different things. So, it's different than the average person. Let's say just your homie or something like that, your homegirl or something, and they're acting in a certain way, and you like, I don't want to even deal with that, so I'm not gonna dive too deep. But again, sometimes people fall out for things like that too. Like that be the kind of more the other aspects of a relationship or a friendship that kind of come into play, or even a business relationship. Because when I hate, y'all, I can't help but keep going on tangents and shit like that. Because what I want to say is this: whether you're talking about actual, partnership, relationship, marriage, or something like that, that might have energies of the moon involved in it, of care, nurture, and based upon y'all history, there might have been certain it might have been your job to do Libra energy and initiate relating to them, even if they are in that space giving you a certain energy. Like ask about what's going on, inquire about how they feel, and engage yourself in the areas that they are needing your consideration. Then there say it's business, there might be, again, there might be a time where your coworker in a certain attitude, or your manager come in a certain space, or you might come into work in a certain space, but there's still things in that business relationship that require you to still be present and initiate. So yeah, you might be in a bad mood, you might be going through something, but there still needs to be uh these tasks still need to be completed. So there's a Saturn commitment there. There might be having to be a Mars commitment there. We still need you to participate in this in this workload and this paperwork and get this shit done. We still need your mind. We still need you to think about this and take care of the accounting on this account. You know what I'm saying? So that's where Libra is an interesting energy. Libra plays out as like the mirror in a lot of ways, because it's like I started off talking about just you and maybe another random individual that you relate to, and in some cases you can leave stuff alone. But one thing about Libra energy and seventh house energy is that it's still an initiator. So sometimes you can't just throw both hands up and say, "Oh well, not my problem." It's like there still be a space there that might require you to initiate something still through the act or through the energy of consideration. So it's like it's not like not my problem, not my issue. What they say, not my monkey, not my circus type shit, right? But there might actually, if you're in, again, if you respect and value that person, and you know that they respect and value you, you might have to actually do some initiating, even though the current energy might not be in, like I said, discernment. It might not be balanced at the moment. I'm not saying just do it, because it's almost like you got to look at the seventh house and Libra energy with the Saturn exaltation sometimes. Due to the commitment to that thing you're relating to, you might have to put aside your pride, how you see things, or how you see yourself, son, in order for the relationship to benefit. And this is the nature of compromise, if y'all get what I'm saying, because it's impossible to compromise if you only thinking about yourself. You're not going to come to no conclusion, because anytime we're thinking of ourselves, it's almost like everything is justifiable. Everything is justified. Everything is cool. Everything works. Everything makes sense. This is my nature. This is who I am. Accept me for me. But the real test is at times in which it's like there comes times where, that's why love, relationships, all that shit is a choice. There comes times where you have to put that shit aside if you want a relationship to survive, to sustain, to grow, to develop. to go further or be strong, be sturdy, to be actually cemented and fulfill the contract. If you only care about yourself, guess what? All it takes is one mood or something like that to break the contract. That's almost like doing a contract based on a handshake. The second I don't feel like fulfilling that contract, guess what? I'm gonna pull back and I'm gonna fall back, and then you can't get mad because there was no contract signed. You know what I'm saying? Like, some real shit, man. Like, so we have to consider those kinds of things when we're interacting with life. I'm checking my mic because before this, y'all don't know this. I was about to be mad, but I started this video and realized the mic was off. Now this phone I'm using to record, for some reason the audio don't pick up without a device added to it. So I'm paranoid about it now, so I'm checking to make sure that green light on, because that's what happened on that last video too, where it cut off, and that was that last little 5 minute. You know what I'm saying? Y'all know I packed the gems in from the beginning of the video to the very last video, the very end. So yeah, that 5 minute had some gems in there, but they'll just come out at a different time. But yeah, this is the nature of compromise and why the sun falls here. So that's what I mean by that's not always negative. The sun falling in Libra, like, it's power in being a good friend. Like, it's power in being a good team member. Like, people talk about Michael Jordan, but Michael Jordan low key wouldn't be shit without Scottie Pippen. People who understand basketball, it's like people often talk about the hero, but a lot of times it be the sidekick who come through that make the hero who the hero is. And you might see the man who done made it in a certain way in the world, but you don't. It's really that woman that he was with that made it possible for that man to even push to go that high, and go that hard. You know what I'm saying? How behind every great man is a great woman, like, or a better woman, or a more, you know what I'm saying? All that stuff that they be saying, it's some truth to it, in the sense of, by yourself, yeah, you can get far, but it low key be about that support, and that number two also. Number two is powerful. That support, because nobody is perfect, and nobody is and nobody's perfect, and everybody runs out of energy. Like, the sun might shine the brightest, but even that star got a rotation in which it's not at the high point no more. It should show you you know what I'm saying? Yeah, it might be day, but at some point that sun is gonna fall. And when the sun falls, who gonna be there? The moon. Like, the moon, the reflection, whatever you want to call it, let that be known for life. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you can go about life on some by yourself shit, but who's your support? You know what I'm saying? And that don't have to be, again, depending on who you are and how you see things, it could be represented in many different forms, all possibilities. But it's gonna reflect you. It's gotta reflect you, you know. So that's something that we gotta understand. So we're dealing with that reflection right now, being in Libra season, which is why how you play out your energy, again, you can't you gotta well, it's just like we gonna feel that. We gonna feel like the sun falling at times. And we gotta know who around us can actually hold it down and keep things going when we don't have as much energy as we once did. Now, like, when I say that, on a day to day, you might not feel like you got less energy, but it can play. It's like that's like a metaphor more so. You know, it could play out many different ways in your life, because it might not play out as you not having energy, but it could play out as you not being able to it could play out as you needing support in the area, that without somebody else's mind or some other aspect allowing you to have the awareness of another part or a reflection of something, you wouldn't be able to cover that. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be able to cover that. But the moon in Virgo is going to be opposite Saturn. So again, feeling the opposite with reality, a lot on your mind, a lot of things to kind of worry about on whether or not something is working. Use that for what it's for, to help you improve upon certain things. And also remember, it's the last point of the waning period. So a lot of this energy is leading us into a new moon in Libra. So that new moon in Libra is a whole new relationship with certain things. So, you know, don't be afraid to start to cut certain things that you just see ain't working. Cut those things, and then cut those things and question them. Question them, get the answers you need. You don't have to go overboard, but for the most part, the deep things need to be considered and discussed right now within yourself, and then with individuals, people, places, and things you're relating to as well. The deep aspects of what is the nature of this relationship, because the moon in Virgo sextiling Venus and Scorpio, it's an opportunity for you to actually get to the deep ulterior motives behind what's making you relate the way you're relating, or what the nature of the relationship is, or on the other end, maybe why something is relating to you in a certain way. That not Mercury, that moon sextile in Venus is the opportunity for you to kind of have more intuition when it comes to those things. And the moon being in Virgo is taking a more practical role. So it's kind of intuition on some of the more smaller details that actually make it make sense of why you feel a certain way. And then the Venus aspect is making you see the nature of it. It's taking you deep enough into what you love, appreciate, and value about something, or it's showing you how obsessed you are with getting certain things, and how that certain thing might not actually be good for you. It might give you more insight on some of the more toxic aspects of it. And it's up to you to kind of discern. Again, discernment being one of them key words right now in this season. Discern whether or not your relationship to something and that toxicity it brings is worth the benefit it brings. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, again, everything got a little toxicity in it. So anything that claims to be all pure or all good, that chances are it's actually quite the opposite. It's being deceitful as well. It's trying to fool you. Everything got a little toxicity in it. Question is it worth it? And where is the source of it? Is it coming, goes back to kind of what I was saying about when you catch somebody on a bad day, and it's like, okay, well, do they, what's the nature of this relationship outside of this experience? Do they value me? Do I value them? And do I respect them, and do they respect me? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, certain agreements can be made, certain things can be made, certain compromises can be made in order to make that work, or to keep that sustained. Again, it doesn't mean you have to be agreeable to everything and be a fool, but it also doesn't mean that you should just assume off of the first negative experience or instance. It's more of and again, that's like the nature of the seventh house too. It's like more of a waiting, slow burn, more of a mature attitude towards it, to where it's like, okay, fool me once, okay, could be an off day. Fool me twice, okay, nah, this is a pattern, and this needs to be stopped, and again, reinforce that we're not going down that path again. You know what I'm saying? So keep that in mind too. Um, again, yeah, that's that kind of deep dive energy, deep investigator energy. So it's some good investigation that can be made. But again, I always recommend going within self first versus trying to investigate others. But at the same time, again, this is one of those alignments where actually it would benefit you if you spoke up and maybe again ask those questions that you need to maybe a partner or something that a person, place, or thing that you're relating to. Say it's a place or a thing, it's you asking yourself about the thing you're involved in and whether or not it's actually bringing you more good than harm. If it's bringing you more harm than good, okay, I might need to release my grasp on this thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm holding on so tight to this rose, but it's literally killing me right now. It's making my hand bleed, and now it doesn't hit an artery, and I cannot sustain this. This is not something that's gonna make me, again, this is only gonna take from me, and it's taking way more than it's able to even give. It might be a beautiful rose, but the tighter I hold it, the deeper the thorn gets into my artery. You know what I'm saying? Like deep shit like that, where some very mature decisions can be made if you're strong enough to actually make them. And that's the thing right now. We got to be serious about, still be serious about what it is we're involved in. You might not take it as serious based upon whatever might be in your face as an illusion. Right now, a lot is going on. So people might be lying to themselves. You know, a lot of that could be going on, trying to make light of a situation that in reality, it's not doing you any good. So, and that's where people are going to get in trouble when they're trying to maintain something that isn't even benefiting them. It's not helping them in any kind of way. Um, they're going to find themselves in a situation where that's where you're being too passive. Again, that thing doesn't respect you. It doesn't value you. Here you are trying to give it value and try to respect it. So here you are about to compromise with something that would never do that same thing for you. And just because, you know, say you're dealing with a person and you might not acknowledge the way that they compromise for you, but that does it really be fair and observe the things that they choose. Again, you can tell if somebody value you. Yeah, they might not do everything you want. They might not agree with everything you say. They might not always make you happy. They might not always do the things you like, but you can tell somebody who at least values you and shows you some form of respect based upon how they interact with you. Again, like when you get out your own ego, you can see, well, yeah, they might not do everything the way I like it, but they still give an effort to do some things that they see is could potentially be valuable for me. So they probably do value me. They probably do respect me. I see them making certain decisions that show that they're choosing to be with me or choosing to be keeping this relationship sustained. So again, it might not always go my way, but I can at least acknowledge the fact that they're trying in some form. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes that's hard to admit, you know what I'm saying? Especially in an argument, you know what I'm saying? When you have an argument, it's like, man, no, they never did this for me. They never think about. Of course, in the heat of the moment, but that when cooler heads prevail, you start, the truth be like, well, that's why I'm staying, because it don't be that bad, you realize. But um back to what I was saying though, like, with that sextile, it's an opportunity for us to actually get to the bottom of things. And if you don't know, this is perfect energy to ask the question. Same thing with other things in your life. I would suggest asking even if you think you do know, because you might reveal something to yourself that you didn't see before based upon just you wasn't asking the right questions. That's one thing of Virgo and Scorpio is going to do. They're going to let's come together and ask the best questions. Eighth house energies, you know what I'm saying? Ask the best questions. The one that's gonna give us the insight we need. But the moon is also gonna be in conjunct Neptune. No, not in conjunct, opposite Neptune. So right now, um again, I kind of feel like it's a little bit of a heightened anxiety. Just based upon you wanting to create stable ground. You maybe want things to seem like it's going to work. So it's like you might be trying to cling to something, but not know what you should cling to. And again, that Virgo energy is just there to kind of keep you. it could be it can help you in the sense of pointing you in the right direction, just to ask the questions about why certain things aren't working, or it can help you observe what may not be working, what could potentially work better. So it's kind of like a self-improvement energy. um the moon is in conjunct Chiron, so misunderstanding how to fix mistakes. So based upon, you might not have all the answers, but you just being aware of the problem is the first step. So just concern yourself with that. Don't worry too much about knowing how to address every single problem. That'll come with time and experience. Sometimes you have to play with it a little bit in order for it to make sense for you. You know what I'm saying? So allow it to exist and allow it to, the important part though is awareness. Do you notice it though? Because what they say, the first step is knowing you got a problem. Now we can work to fix something, or do at least do something that can maybe change the outcome or change the result. um Moon in conjunct the North Node too. So again, misunderstanding our individuality where it comes when it comes to our spiritual path and where we're going with things. So make sure you take that into account. Even if you don't, it's almost like everybody feels them being pushed in a certain way, but you just don't have all the facts yet. That's okay. You know what I'm saying? Nobody said you had to have all the facts. God didn't. God just did it. You know what I'm saying? So you just got to do it still. Don't procrastinate. Moon was it square? Yeah, square Jupiter. So again, learning what information is valid and useful versus what information is bullshit. We need to be real good at discernment right now. We have to learn through the frustration of what our mind is on versus all the mind chatter. So what our mind needs to be on that's going to work and be productive versus all the mind chatter that's just distraction. That's where we at with it right now. Um, and the thing is, we're expanding. There's so much information going on right now, especially with election shit. I mean, even you try to watch YouTube without the little ad free shit, man. There's an ad every 2 minutes, every two thoughts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy. Like ads going crazy. The same ads too. It's a certain vibe every election season that it's just like you keep hearing whoever's running for office name over and over again, and that shit is a ritual. That shit is a spell, witchcraft. You know what I'm saying? They trying to get your mind on it, even if you're not thinking about it. You're thinking about it. Social media stuff. You see people talking about this, and again, they trying to create all kinds of natural disasters and stuff. It'll make your mind spin. First it was the school shootings, now it's hurricanes, now it's immigrants, and it is like, oh my gosh, they trying to load everybody up, everybody mind up. Then it's Diddy. Oh man, like just so many pockets to get distracted, and they just want your mind conflated, or conflicted. I'll say they just want your mind conflicted. They want you all over the place, and then they can hit you with more scare tactics to make you choose something, even if you don't even think that's a right choice. Just choose somebody. Come on, this person should be president. This person, man, none of that shit even matters, man. It's like it's so crazy how invested people will be when they're going through very real life things that are altering their current reality. When whoever was in office, yeah, it might alter certain circumstances, but it ain't never really like I don't know. I mean, I do know, but for the sake of this, we just gonna keep it moving. When it comes to the moon in Virgo, also, I can look it up actually. Moon in Virgo, even though I should flex me just knowing where they at, still I like to be accurate. Accurate. I like to be accurate. Moon in Virgo. Oh yeah, Trine and Mars. No, not no Trine. That's a sextile. That's a sextile. So also the moon has opportunities for you to work on what you care about, work on your sensitivity, work on your insecurities. Um, because the thing about relating, the better you know how to regulate yourself, the better you're gonna be in relation to others outside of you. Because that's the number one issue with all relationships. You know how they say all relationships come back to what? Childhood trauma, and how you're able to heal that. And the better you're able to heal that and come to grips with certain things like that, the better your relationships have the potential to be. Because those are the things that keep us from getting close, intimate, private with certain people who we're trying to connect to. That is the number one prevention of connection. That is the number one thing that keeps us from being vulnerable. It's all of that fourth house stuff, cancer type stuff. You know what I'm saying? On more extreme ends, it becomes the eighth house, and then all those together kind of determine the 12th house, the uh, illusions, the fantasies. Because even to be in, because when you're thinking about the 12th house too, and mood and stuff like that, you ever been with somebody who don't know how to have a good day? You know what I'm saying? They always having a bad day. That's like 12th house stuff, where it can almost seem like a person just in a space and in an unlucky vibe, or just in a bad vibe, always in a bad, like it's almost like they never happy, they never satisfied, never. And that whole overarching vibe and overarching mood is a lot of times determined by what you believe to be true. And a person with a belief in life being shitty, life being a certain way, they're gonna vibe out like that. They're gonna behave in that manner. That is their philosophy, their meaning and reason, and that is their faith. That life is shitty and X, Y, and Z, versus people who might be like, life is beautiful, life is this, life is that. They have an aura around them that, because it's like aura is developed in the eighth house, but it's amplified in the 12th. Aura is, it's like the nature of your aura is kind of determined in the fourth. Aura is developed in the eighth, and then it's amplified through the 12th. So if you got a strong aura, chances are you have a emotional disposition that's strong, and the vibe of the aura that's going to be developed in the eighth house. So the things you actually do behind closed doors that nobody can see, the ways that you feel that nobody really may understand, maybe that no one really understands, that's going to determine kind of like, oh, that's the person's vibe. But your 12th house, your belief in that vibe is how strong the frequency, how far it is. And see, the farther your vibe is, this is why Pisces energies be one of the most kind of like versatile energies. That's why it seems like a Pisces energy can kind of come to anybody in any kind of way, because it's like it's expansive in that way. There's that Jupiterian shit, you know. That could be positive. Again, it could be positive or it could be negative based upon what is developed in that aura in the eighth house. If they did a bunch of weird shit behind closed doors, well, their vibe gonna be weird to a lot of people. They like, damn, this person, I don't know what it is. I just don't like them, or I feel like this about them. I question this. Don't matter what you actually doing behind that closed doors, but it does matter. It's like you might not think nobody can see it, but people feel it. People pick up on it. Different ideas, signals. Now, their minds might be on bullshit. So but again, think about it like this too. Even if you in the presence of people who minds on that certain thing, it's kind of like why you keep attracting certain people, because 12th house be also like hidden enemies, but it also be guardian angels. So a lot of 12th housers or even Pisceans can have a bunch of hidden enemies, or people who secretly want to see them win. But that's again determined by their vibe and how they go about things, you know. And if you find yourself on one end, it's not something to be egotistical about either. It's something for you to take and consider, because even haters can be beneficial, and even guardian angels could be deceptive or demonic or hold you back, because guardian angels may be the type of, you ever had some, it's like kind of like spiritual cock blocking, where it's like, but let's say it's spiritual cock blocking, but you actually like the blessing. So it's like you was actually doing something that was in your vibe, and here comes somebody like, oh, no, 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 nah, you good. You supposed to take care of this. You supposed to be like this. This how I see you. You my Jesus. You this. You this what you did. And it's like, it should block your blessings. You be like, damn, like all of a sudden it's like the thing you was attracting that you really wanted to be like, it kind of treats you like, I'm kind of cool on you. It seems like you got a lot going on. It's like, And it'd be the people who love you or the people who protecting you and stuff like that. But they protect you right from something that you actually wanted to happen or you was trying to bring to yourself. Why the 12th house is kind of like an asylum on a negative end, like straight jacket. That energy comes from the 12th house being, again, people who lost in their own world imagination or delusion, I should say, or people who are able to go anywhere they want and are free because of their creativity and their imagination. So imagination versus delusion. Imagination can be expansive and outward and something that looks creative and inspiring to others. It's collective, so it's like it's broad, it's open, it opens up when you're like kind of like that thing, that the clip of SpongeBob where he like imagination and he did his hands like that, and it was like it opened it all up. Versus delusion is you being trapped in your own mind, trapped in your own emotions and feelings, and not being able to go outside of what you're afraid of deeply. You're whatever you're delusional about, and that weighs on you. So just like a straitjacket would, goes across your body and it holds everything together real, real tight. You know what I'm saying? The tighter it is, the more you're locked into it. And it's so that you don't harm yourself and others. But the thing about a delusion, the thing is you won't realize you harming others. You'll genuinely think others are harming you. That hence the victim mentality. You think others are harming you. You the one who, without your hand strapped, is gonna grab that knife and go, what I'm saying, do something you gonna regret, not even gonna regret. You gonna think you justify. You gonna think, man, I killed all those people because they made fun of me, and lower octave Pisces are ruin your life. You know what I'm saying? A lower octave 12th houser of any sign will ruin your life. But see, the thing is, they ruin their own lives. You know, they ruin your life when you become invested and you actually take them to be the victim. You kind of got to treat Pisces energies. You got to treat them kind of. It's like it's crazy because like you got to understand, if you care about them, you do got to give them the grace, but you have to also make them stand on what it is that they trying to stand on. It's like it's weird. It's like I always say, as Pisces, I give advice. Like when I'm doing readings for other Pisces, I always break it down real smooth. I'll be like, yo, first thing, let's talk about what you got as an anchor. What's your anchor? What's holding you together? Because if you ain't got nothing that's holding you together and giving you grounding and sense of self, then this is a whole different reading we about to do. This is about to be a reading with no planets involved. It's about to be a reading specifically about emotional intelligence and sense of self, knowledge of self, and knowing yourself. You know, I actually, matter of fact, I'm gonna start doing that as a service. Talking about anchors. Anchors is similar to purpose, but it's kind of like what is established before the purpose. Anchors are for individual, well, really everybody. Everybody needs an anchor, something that's holding them together. It's like, I don't even think anchor is the best analogy. I think more so like tethering. You know what I'm saying? It's like tethering or stitching. It's like your spiritual stitching. Like what do you want to weave in and out to create the you know what I'm saying, the stitching, um kind of like clothes. I forget what is it called, stitches or the threading or something like that. Whatever it is, I mean, there's many words for it, but y'all get what you know what I'm saying. And if you don't get what I'm saying, I'll probably do a video on it. But it's how, it's everything that's tying this stuff together. It's very important. We got to know how we're stitched together. We got to know what's holding it all together. And again, that can change. Those things, sometimes you get holes in certain pockets and you got to readjust it. Sometimes you take the whole thread out and you want to put another string in and shit like that. Metaphorically speaking, it's still is very much necessary. But first thing I'll be saying is like, what's your anchor? What's holding you down? You know, And the anchor, not nothing, it's different than something holding you down. As far as weight, it's something that is more so keeping you centered, because you could be too expansive, and you could be too in the collective, and you could be too ambivalent, what is it, ambiguous, you know what I'm saying, when spirit, yeah, it's no thing, but we came into this world trying to create organs, to create images, to create looks, to create vibes, to create thoughts, to create, so it's like, if you don't have a base to what you're creating, if you don't know what you're creating, then you might, the way you might go about things will be in a way that is inauthentic, regardless of it being your genuine intention or not. But as an overall reading, it's like understanding stitching, just understand, because what it does is it ties that purpose to what you're experiencing in reality, which becomes important. That helps you from not just becoming a spiritual bum and just drifting off into the land of nothingness. It keeps you from kind of growing resentful of the ways of the world in a way that makes you resistant to being, to accessing all possibilities. You know what I'm saying? It helps you from digging yourself in a hole just to come out of, just to one day see the light, and now you want to climb out of that hole. AKA you commit yourself to something based upon you just, again, going with the flow. And then you realize, oh, I could have used all my time actually focused on something that I wanted to see created in this world, or I wanted to, what I'm saying, people who wake up, they too, it's never too late, but it's like, you, I wish I would have did this so much earlier, that type energy. But Moon in Virgo. Moon in Virgo, we gonna talk about what's up, what's next. Let's see. Moon in Virgo, also trining Uranus. So the gift of being, so this is like, again, uniqueness. We need to figure out how it works for us. Unique way of how it works for us and what doesn't work for us. So that's the gift right now. It's being able to tap into that. Really, it's a grand Earth trine. So again, that, I think I said in the beginning, being more serious about things overall. So that moon has the gift of seeing the details of our individuality, or seeing the details of our relationships in which things are not reflecting our individuality. Or it could be you being able to see how your individuality benefits the relationship. That's kind of on the positive end. So if you're in that space, this is where you can kind of tap in and continue along with the transformations you need to know. It's like the gift to also take power and control over your individuality in a way that can benefit the relationship, help it work better, and things like that. Even though these alignments aren't, being that we're going through Libra season, this is where a lot of our action and attention needs to go, which is why I'm kind of making everything about relationships. But the trine itself is just the details of our individuality that allow us to take more power and control over it. That's the Pluto, Venus, no, Pluto, uh, Moon, and Uranus kind of in trine. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Pluto is also sextile in Venus too. So again, transformative energy that can help you. Or it's really, if you're willing to take power control over it, because it's also the opportunity to take power control over pleasures. So it really just comes down to your awareness and discernment. If you can be aware of something that is taking your Venus energy, and say you're overindulging in it, really this might be a kind of fair warning for real, because when it comes to where that energy is, because let's see, basically, if you are aware of where this Venus energy is, right, and you can determine whether or not it's what you want to keep moving towards. Well, I'll say it like this: it's like, you might see, okay, I'm participating with this Venus energy and I'm overindulging in it. this would be like Pluto is kind of being like, look, take power and control over it now. And let's say you choose to ignore it because it's a sextile. Sextiles are tricky because you can get very lazy in your approach to them because Pluto might not pose what you're overindulging in as a problem. You might even have an illusion of having more control over things because of uh your access to it. Because see, Venus is trining Neptune, which is in retrograde, and Saturn, and it's also Neptune and Saturn are making a sextile with uh, Pluto. I know I'm jumping a lot around, but if y'all get what I'm saying, it's like this is like a strange energy that can kind of make you think something that you know is a problem is not a problem, and so therefore you procrastinate or you play the line. You kind of keep it and keep playing with it and stuff like that, but you never learn how to take power and control over it, which is on the other side of this opportunity. It's kind of like, you can choose to actually be responsible, be mature, prioritize properly, and do the mature thing, which is going to be you addressing or relating to whatever it is you're involved in a certain way. Like for instance, you got access to. I love this, the analogy with a kid and candy, right? A kid is gifted a whole jar of candy, and with that whole jar of candy, yeah, he got the opportunity to eat all that candy, or he can display some self control and do it responsibly, and that'll lead to, again, we see which one is going to lead to what. One of them is a form of power and control, so now he can enjoy the candy for much longer with less negative benefits. I mean, I said less negative benefits with less consequences that are negative, right? That's the more mature and the more disciplined. He's taking power and control over that opportunity and that gift, versus the other end of that energy where the person's like, oh, I got this jar of candy. Guess what? I'm going to eat it all tonight. That kid ends up getting sick, throws up all over the place, couldn't even finish the jar, but got to throw it out now because he's sick of candy. You know what I'm saying? Or let's say he didn't eat it all in one night, ate big chunks of it, though, each time he overindulged and didn't take power control over it. Guess what? Well, he developed some form of diabetes now. So now he got a different kind of consequence that's a long term lasting effect that's altered his life in some kind of way that he looked back on and it's like, damn, had I just made different choices, had I take power and control over it, it wouldn't now take power and control over me. Because when you get certain illnesses like that, that illness now has power and control over you in some way where you're dependent on insulin, you're dependent on this, that, and the third. And again, if you're going through something like this, what I'm saying, heart goes out to you, because I know that's a tough battle. But again, when I'm saying this, I don't say this to discourage y'all, but for the people I'm just helping y'all understand the analogy itself. You are now dependent on the needs required of living with that kind of illness or that kind of thing, based upon you not taking power and control over it at a time where you had the power to. And that's with majority of illnesses that, saying the ones that develop over time because of poor diet, because of poor choices with health and things like that. You know what I'm saying? So you got to take power control over it. And it's not going to present itself as a problem. It's going to actually present itself as a gift. All of a sudden, right now, you might realize you have a lot of access to something that is pleasurable, or that you know what I'm saying, that you like, or that you would choose to compromise with if given the chance. It could look like a person, place, or thing. It could look like, again, if this is a form of addiction that is playing out a role of helping you escape with Saturn, y'all should get my drift. Going along with this shit, you're gonna see some of these, when these energies, as they start to go direct, you're gonna realize, oh shit, I spent my year 8, instead of developing and ready for takeoff, I spent my year 8 repeating cycles. And now that we're in year 9, where things need to take off so that the land that it's taken off from can crumble. You know what I'm saying? We see that the earth is crumbling. Boom, it's crumbling. If you do your year 8 right, you'll by default have created some form of a rocket spaceship that can ascend while the land before crumbles. But those who didn't do the year 8 correctly, they played out too many cycles of repeating, and that repeating procrastinated the development of anything that could possibly take them to a new place. So guess what? Year 9 comes, and it might be just too little too late. And that land that they are repeating a cycle on crumbles. And along with them, now they are again forced to relinquish power and control for what society deems as appropriate ways to or means to go about the system that they created. Because hey, if you're not producing your own system, you're using our system, you got to play by our rules. If you're not going to come up with something that worked for you and make that make sense and get enough people to invest value into that, guess what? That means you just going along. You finna go along with what we got because you still trying to do our things and go with our system. You trying to still live on our land. You still like a parent. You living in our house. You gonna live by our rules. If you want to live how you want to live, go get your own house. That's how the government look at y'all. So you could take it personal. Now fuck you, fuck you. But it's like, nigga, just get your house. It's like the second you stop bitching and you just, and I'm not trying to be insensitive because it's a fucked up system. I'm not by no means supporting it or agreeing with it, but it's like a thing where you ain't even gotta feel no kind of way about it. It's just, it is what it is. I can understand that way of thinking based upon a person in that position because hey, if I got a house and motherfuckers in that bitch not abide by my rules, hey, this the deal. Get out, get your own, or you finna do what we doing here. And that's the problem with the world. The world complains, bitch, and shit like that, but they not making no plans to come together to build a house. So, and the people, it's like it's too many people in the world, too many things going on to not, especially in these times. That's why I say it's such a potent time. There's so many ways to get it for real. And it's not easy. And shout out to everybody out here like me who working on it. It ain't easy. But guess what? As we continue to put the pieces together and once we get it working, it's gonna work. So you know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of actually putting the pieces together and getting that shit to work. You know what I'm saying? But that takes focus, dedication, discipline. You know what I'm saying? Hard work, but not in the way that they talk about hard work. But the hard work is in the discipline. It's in the consistency. It's in the choice. The hard work, the hardest thing to do is to choose it and to commit to it. You know what I'm saying? The hard work is in all that, not so much the running around and trying to, do the little frivolous things that they tell you to do. Like chase this, chase that, go get that, apply for that. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can do it their own way. Some ways work better than others, and you got to know when to be honest with yourself and switch it up. But you know, that's just how it go. But yeah. Let me see if I'm missing something. Yep, yep, yep. I think that's about it though. That's about it. Thank y'all for watching. I appreciate y'all. The women's Each One Teach One's class is on its way. So make sure y'all send an email to 717conference.info@gmail.com, or you hit up you can DM one of the ladies on IG about the class as well, or just go to the 717 conference page on IG, and then you can go from there and just send us a DM, and we'll make sure we get it squared away that you can get your RSVP, and we can get that going because that's going to be near the end of October. So I believe, well, I don't want to get the date wrong, but at the end, near the end of October. So make sure y'all go ahead and send y'all DMs, y'all emails, y'all messages now so that we can go ahead and get your spot reserved. Um, yeah, yeah, yep. Other than that, y'all have a beautiful, beautiful time. Um, You know, it's a lot of opportunity out here. So, just make use of what you got. Like, that's the number one thing I would say right now. Is like, you have to just make use of what you got and don't worry too much about what you don't. You know, a lot of this new moon is going to be on top of Lilith as well. So Lilith is still in the back of everybody's mind, kind of spooking everybody, and it feels a lot more intense than um it might feel like a lot more pressure than it actually is, but you won't realize that until you just get started. So get started, get it going, and if you've been going, keep going, what I'm saying? Gotta fit, even if you're not, it's like, just keep going. Like, yeah, they say don't stop. It really be like that. Like, it really be the worst, the only way you could fail for real is just to stop. um and stopping doesn't mean being, not being open to switching directions. Sometimes you got to pivot. So, be smart, be wise, do y'all thing, be the best version of you can be. Every day is a new day to strive for greatness. You know what I'm saying? So much love, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.